right now, obviously, one of the biggest challenges we're facing is going back to school. I mean, it's every night in the news. Every city and town in every state is trying to figure out how to do it in person, remote, hybrid, the whole shebang. Like, what are your thoughts on how to approach that now? And do you feel cities and towns can effectively educate in this year?
I think that they can. I've seen that it's happened. We have one organization we've worked with that actually already has their entire mode of learning. It's a high school online.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they had it well before this pandemic hit. This was their mode of operation. And they supplement that with adults supporting the kids in tutoring and mentoring. And it's actually incredibly effective. So we know it can work. My feeling is that it's important to make a choice and stick with doing that choice of approach really, really well. And the only choice really right now that you can make with any certainty is to do it remotely. Trying to bring adults and kids into schools together and hope for the best is only inviting disruption, and certainly it's creating an atmosphere that has a tremendous amount of tension associated with it. So why not focus on doing it the best possible way remotely, and then figuring out, when is it safe to go back. So I think it's like everything else in our society that right now, until we get this pandemic control solved, everything else is in limbo unless we adapt to the reality of it.
Well, that's it. I've heard hundreds of great ideas this summer, and I've been on this kind of weekly conference call of, how are we going to carry this off, and how are we going to catch kids up who are already behind, and all kinds of issues. And all kinds of ideas, and I don't know what the best approach is. I wish, because, I have the sense that remote learning, remote teaching and learning is still, and I might be completely off base, but I'm not sure how well it's understood as a distinct art and science. And I would have liked for more schools to decide in June, what, we have no idea where this thing's going to go. We could plan, and then it'll all be out the window. Let's just start the most conservative way, and let's go remote, and let's start training teachers and developing curricula now. And some of these districts around the country that I've been in touch with have done that, and they feel, pretty confident. Others, in our home state here, they were told right up until I think last Friday, come up with 3 plans: in-person, hybrid, remote. And that to me is such a steep hill to climb. I would rather have gone, full bore for 3 months. Let's get this the best that it can be. Let's become, what is it? The University of Southern New Hampshire, or Southern New Hampshire University. Now they're a leader in remote learning, have been for a long, long time.
Right.
It's a specific thing, and I would have liked more schools to do that. I do think the benefit, there will be good things that come out of this. It has, everyone's talking about the digital divide, and it's not a new concept, but it has been so underscored that I can't see that how it could be ignored going forward.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things. And, how do you really catch kids up? There's a lot of attention paid on that now because this, school's closing in March. They're predicting a year of math loss and, to 9 months of reading loss for a lot of kids. So I think there's been a spotlight on things even more than before, and that it will be hard to ignore and will be addressed going forward. So Oh, and another thing I'll just throw in, the whole parent-school connection.
Mhm.
I've heard so many superintendents and principals talk about how, you know, they believe, they get the sense that, you know, parents finally much better understand what teachers do, and schools much better understand, you know, the kind of support and communication that parents need. And they have said again and again and again, there's never been a time in their careers where they've seen such a close connection between the schools and the families. Now, how you maintain that going forward, I haven't heard, you know, all of the answers, but at least there's this recognition that it's powerful and we need to hang on to that. And I think that will be a plus.
Right.
So
And I think
always looking for the silver lining there, Beth.
Yeah.
there is, I think, though,
Yeah.
there are silver linings if they're sought out. And what Beth is talking about is actually huge, because we've always had lip service to parents being partners in education, but by necessity, now they are.
Right.
And so in Mississippi, we're helping to create a partnership structure to help actually train parents and educators in a similar approach to nurturing early childhood development education. And if that happens, you know, that kind of approach, if people are starting to act on that opportunity, that's a really big deal. Technology, remote learning, actually offers some great solutions to huge inequity problems. You think of kids in many settings that don't have any access, say, to AP courses
Mm-hmm.
or really high quality, you know, teaching on every subject. Well, you can have access to that through remote learning. And you think of the costs of higher education and how remote learning can help bring down that cost. So at our core, we are always trying to think creatively about actually how do you solve something? How do you make something better and leave it better? So going forward. And when you have a situation like this, it does open up these new opportunities if you are looking for them.
Right. And do you think that remote learning in some form, even, you know, once we're past COVID and everybody's kind of resumed normal life and back into in-person classes, do you think remote learning it's here to stay, that there's going to be a component of that in K through 12 education forever or going forward?
It's a really good question. I think it depends on how long this disruption lasts. Because like I say, I think it takes time to have change actually lock in and for people to discover, sometimes reluctantly, but you know, better ways of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
It would happen faster, like everything that we work on, if there was a process of nurturing it to happen. Instead of, you know, everybody kind of left on their own. We have a very decentralized education system.
Right.
And so everybody's trying to figure this out on their own without having an understanding of what somebody else might be doing. And that works. And
Well,
so,
it sounds like that's almost a siloing in a different form, you know,
Right.
that's siloing from, you know, town to town, state to state, where you're not, you know, someone may be doing something really great for hybrid or online learning, but no one talks to each other.
right.
I think I'm convinced that remote learning will stay part of K through 12 for sure. And I could see some good ways to apply it might be, especially for the younger kids, it could be for enrichment. And for high school kids, you know, there could be all kinds of dual enrollment with community college or colleges. I think, you know, a big part of Mississippi's overall education progress. I mean, they've pulled themselves up right up through the ranks. And one of the things is insisting, and I've seen it work locally, on more AP, more students in AP classes. And so you could see where you could do, you know, remote learning might be in that kind of category. I really think, especially at the community college level, I think remote learning could be huge. The community college setting is still really important because it's not just the classrooms, but it is, the computers and the internet and the food pantries and the cafeteria and the mentoring and the advising. So there is that kind of physical presence that will always be important. But I could see, I think remote learning is going to be big. I think community colleges might revolutionize remote learning. And, like the University of New Hampshire, I mean, they're looking through their remote platform. I mean, they have committed to, I forget what the time frame is, but committed to bringing their tuition down to $10,000 a year. And,
Oh, wow.
and that's, they've said it right out loud. And they can do that because they are such leaders in remote learning, and they can bring people in from all over. So I think it could prove really helpful to reducing college tuitions and costs. So it's not going to happen next year, but I think we are on a path now that remote learning of various kinds will be with us for the future.
Well, and yeah, and with certainly community college, I'm a graduate of a community college. I got my associates, and it was because of cost,
Right.
and it was the only way I could continue advancing my college education, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. The diversity of the student body in a community college is unmatched.
Right.
You have everyone. You have recent high school grads. You have former military, you have, adult learning, you have so many different people coming from so many different experiences that I think it's really an overlooked place to get an education. Everyone focuses so much on going to a 4-year school, but, I think for a lot of folks, it really is one of the largest steps someone could take to advance their own livelihood, their own career.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But they're so poorly funded. I mean, the 15 Massachusetts community colleges couldn't be more lean if they tried. I mean, they are running practically on fumes, but getting the job done in a great way. And, always looking to improve. But that's it would be a great place to make investment, because I think the return on the investment would be gigantic.